Do you think that every person crossing the border just wants to live and be safe and has no intention of doing anyone harm in America?
Yes.
Do you lock your doors at night?
Yes.
So no one comes into your house?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be hurt and you don't want your stuff disrespected or your personal space invaded, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing where people come into the country illegally. And why would you lock your door if you just assume everybody's loving and out here having fun and they just want to live?
Probably because there are exceptions to rules.
Maybe you should leave your door open then.
Yeah? I mean, why not?
Okay. Do you know who Jasmine Crockett is? No, okay. She's a congresswoman from Missouri.
Okay.
And she recently said in a controversial statement that Trump supporters are sick and mentally ill.
Okay.
And so we're just asking everyday people out here if they agree or disagree with that statement.
I feel like that's insulting the mentally ill, in my personal opinion.
Okay.
I think that people can make choices that we might not approve of, but really what is fundamentally important is if those are hateful choices or not. Like, we should work as a community to be better as people and not give into this divide that's happening so much. So even if I don't necessarily agree with a Trump supporter on like basic fundamental things, as long as we as a country, as a community are coming together, I think that's more important. We need to focus on what we all agree on versus what divides us.
So what do you agree on with Trump supporters?
Golly gee, that's a hard one. I admire their sense of nationalism and pride. I will say that's a really valuable asset. I just think it might be creating a bit of a divide, and that's the only negative aspect, because I do like to be proud of my country. I just need something to be a little more proud of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you can agree with them on?
I don't know. Putting Trump supporters in one whole thing is very broad because there are different varieties. I will say I can't think of anything at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you disagree with them on immigration?
Yes, I'm actually married to an immigrant.
Okay.
So I'm a little, not biased, but I understand the struggle. It took us 5 years to go through the process, and to expect every single person to put in as much money, as much time, that's a tall order. Yeah.
So should they be, because it's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of energy, should they just instead be allowed to come into our country, caught and released back? They weren't vetted. Because you said that calling Trump supporters mentally ill is kind of an insult to the mentally ill. Is it an insult to legal immigrants when illegal immigrants come over and they cross the border, they didn't pay any money, they didn't put in the time, they didn't put in the energy, they didn't go through the due process? Is that not an insult to legal immigrants?
I don't think so, because it's kind of like the people who are like, I paid for college, if everyone has free college, all I did was, I actually want other generations and other people to be happy. I think we should focus more on making the immigration process more accessible, because if it is accessible, then all of them most likely would be able to go through the channels. Because I'm going to be honest, like 5 years, there has been moments where I'm like, screw it, go to Mexico. Like, I'm so tired of waiting. I can't imagine like a whole family on the run for a better life. Like, that is a very hard demand. I think we should have more access, more financial, and a better funding to the immigration system, because there isn't a lot.
Well, Trump did have an executive order to provide more asylum lawyers to the border for asylum seekers, which is fair, which is an actual, thing that people can come and claim and get citizenship or at least a visa faster than someone that just wants to come over and like live and be an American citizen. I still don't know if that like justifies breaking U.S. law. Do you?
If the law is in place specifically to, I don't know if trip people up is the right word. It's like I said, a very tall demand.
Well, America takes more immigrants every year than any other country. We are so vast. There's so many people here. We take millions of immigrants every year. And so it takes a while to process that and to vet everybody coming in. And while maybe you're correct that it needs work and it needs a better system, should people be coming illegally to just because they don't like our laws or they think that it's not for them or they don't want to put in that effort? Shouldn't they just go through the process instead of breaking laws?
I think you're saying like they don't like the laws. It's literally they couldn't afford the laws. And
So should they break it?
should they break it? I mean, obviously, no one should break laws.
Okay.
But
So maybe you do agree with Trump supporters on something.
yes, but that is so very broad. I'm going to be honest. That's a very blanket statement because there are laws I'm fairly certain I don't agree with that is put in place in this country anyway. Like,
Yeah, but the thing is, when someone comes over illegally and breaks that law, they do face deportation, and that's just the reality of it. I don't think it's fair for people to come over to our country just because they don't like the process or it takes too much time or it takes too much money, and then they get to have free reign into our country. They were not vetted. They don't know our customs. They don't know the cultures that are here, because there's so many different things around America as we're so big. I think it's actually important that they follow laws, and I think our laws and our lawmakers have this process for a reason. Whether or not it needs work, they got to follow it, because if you're going to break the law because you don't like it, then that just leaves open, anybody to have the idea that they can break any law because they don't like it.
what do you see when you see an immigrant? Like you personally, what do you just see a negative space or my point being, I feel like
The answer to that is no.
Yeah.
I see someone who loves this country enough that they wanted to come over.
Okay.
And I appreciate that. I feel a lot of connection with an immigrant who chose to come here rather than someone who was just born here and takes for granted the country that we live in. And so I think that's a beautiful thing for them to do. Now, when I hear someone skirting that process just because they don't like it or they don't think it's fair, I feel disrespected as an American citizen that you want to come to my country, but you can't even respect us enough to go through the right way, and you can't even respect the legal people who are wanting and waiting years, like you said, to just come in. I also think it's disrespectful and it's dangerous to say that it should be okay for people to come over illegally because they are not vetted. We don't know who's coming in, and we've seen a lot of crime and a lot of murders come from people who were never vetted into this country, who were just caught and released into America. I know she probably wants to go, but anyway, that's my opinion.
I think the reason I mainly ask is because I feel like I had mentioned earlier there's such a divide. I don't even think country-wise this is a division of humanity. We are all people who all have families and dreams and hopes, and to say that someone is disrespecting you who they've never met you, that is definitely not their intent. They're just trying to live, and we need to embrace each other as like common humanity. This isn't a turf war. We are in this together. The planet is on fire. We should be working on bigger, broader things.
And you think that every person crossing the border just wants to live and be safe and has no intention of doing anyone harm in America?
Yes. To assume that they're all murderers?
I didn't say that. I asked if you thought it was okay to assume that everyone coming in did not want to do anyone harm in our country and actually does not want to be vetted. Okay?
Yeah.
So what about the people who come in smuggling drugs, human traffickers? They are smuggling women and they sex traffic them across the border. They bring drugs into our communities, and more importantly, they come over as gang members. What about the gang members that are coming over the border?
Okay, what about the gang members in California?
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
A lot of them are from Mexico. A lot of them are MS-13 gang members and Barrio 18 gang members as well that came illegally across the border. So that's a good point. A lot of the gang members and the gang crime in California come from Mexico, illegal immigrants.
I think you're focusing on the exception rather than the general rule.
Well, you said we should not assume anyone wants to do harm. They just want to come over and wear butterflies and twirl around and be hippies, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it's not fair to assume that everybody does not have any ill intention of coming into our country.
Do you assume everyone here is... Do you think there's someone here wanting to do us harm? In this... right now?
Well, they could. That's why I have this guy. So to make sure that no one does me harm. So I come prepared and protected. Do you think people who have a concealed carry license just think that everyone's out to get them?
Possibly.
Do you lock your doors at night?
Yes.
Do you lock your car?
I can't drive right now, but I assume so, yeah.
Yeah. Why?
I guess so that no one takes it?
Your house. Why would you lock your door at night when you're sleeping?
Again, so no one takes our stuff.
So no one comes into your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be hurt and you don't want your stuff disrespected or your personal space invaded, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing where people come into the country illegally. And why would you lock your door if you just assume everybody's loving and out here having fun and they just want to live?
Probably because there are exceptions to rules,
Yes.
but everyone in my community, everyone here has not come to harm me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Maybe you should leave your door open then.
Yeah? I mean, why not?
Yeah, why not? Have it.
Right.
Yeah, take a chance, right? You trust that everyone in this country and that wants to come into this country should not be vetted. We don't need to know who's coming into our spaces, and we don't need to just come on into our door. You should leave that door open.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Update me on how that goes.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Have a good day.
You as well.
Thank you. By the way, everybody, we are on TikTok now. It's at Liberty Hangout, no spaces, no extra characters, just like here on YouTube. There are a ton of accounts impersonating me and stealing my content, so report the other ones, follow me there, and we have some good little clips coming out.